And we are recording on Monday, May 8th, 2023 at 4:04 p.m. Eastern Time. Mr. Robert Spencer has been on here a couple times before of Jihad Watch, your website, your link to your Twitter and your other work are in the description. Please go check them out. But my buddy Jay Miller is a longtime fan of my show, and he was like, "You need to talk to Mr. Spencer about cattle mutilation." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "I don't think you have the right guy." And then he like sent me the link, and I was like, "Well, sure enough." We were talking about cattle mutilation. But real quick, Mr. Spencer, could you please introduce yourself for everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. I am director of Jihad Watch, which tracks jihad activity. We've been doing that for 20 years now. And of course, as time has gone by, it's become increasingly clear that while the jihad is real, I don't discount the role of the FBI and all that in fabricating some of the incidents in particular. But while the jihad is real, there are immediately more pressing threats from the left that are very severely encroaching upon our freedoms at this point. And
Hmm.
so we also now have the what's called the left column, where we talk about the left at Jihad Watch, and I also write at PJ Media, and all this goes up on Twitter. We have a Facebook page if you can find it, but Mark Zuckerberg very much does not want you to do that, and so it's going to be very hard for you to find.
Now, what what in God's name was this cattle mutilation, and why was it, I guess, unique, or why did it stand out amongst, I guess, your quote unquote normal cattle mutilations, where it's cattle killed in often kind of an absurd way or something that seems medically impossible, at the very least improbable? And how does this tie into Jihad Watch?
Well, there's no jihad
Okay.
involved.
All right.
I'm not saying that this was some jihadis doing
Okay.
this. This is just something that I came across, and I thought that it was interesting in light of all the very suspicious things that have been going on with the food supply.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of people like eating beef,
Mm-hmm.
and there were mysterious deaths of thousands of cattle in Kansas in June 2022. You may have seen the
Mm-hmm.
video all over the place. Just it went on and on and on, and you wouldn't believe it. Just dead cows after dead cow. Nobody's explained that. People said, "Oh, it's because of the extreme heat," but it was not actually a particularly hot period, and so that was extremely suspicious. Then there was more recently a I'm looking for the reference, but oh, here it is. Yeah, fire broke out just recently in mid-April on a farm in West Texas, and 18,000 cows, 18,000 were killed. You got to think, okay, maybe, I mean, fires, accidents, they've always happened. But you combine that with the fact that there are so many train derailments, mysterious explosions at food plants. And then you look on the other side at the UN and the World Economic Forum, and how they want people to start eating bugs. And they say this will help the climate, that we got to stop eating beef. Beef is bad for the climate. Even the cows passing gas is bad for the climate. Like there haven't been cows passing gas since there have been cows.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so silly, but nonetheless, they actually put this stuff out there and expect people to believe it. That we got to cut back on the beef, we got to cut back on the cows, we got to start eating crickets and worms and all that, and that will save us. That will save the environment. And I think that it's part of the very evil plan of the globalist internationalists to reduce the human population, because they are uh, convinced somehow that there will be some massive famine or food shortage that will decimate the remaining human population, and that the only way any human population is sustainable at all is if we cut it back. We saw this with the Georgia Guidestones that were
Mm-hmm.
blown last year. 500 million people in the world. That's it. Well, there are already, what, 7 billion people in the world? So they're talking about murdering 6.5 billion people. or making the conditions of life so difficult for them that they die off. And what better way than to take cattle, which is a basic human staple, at least in the Western world, and say you can't have it and make the cows unavailable. But this was an even more bizarre story than all that. That was all just background, my friend. That was all just to set this up. This is a statement from the Madison County Sheriff's Office in Madison County, Texas, on April 19th, 2023. It's readily available on Facebook, and it's linked at my article about this, which is at PJ Media, and is called "What is Going On with the Strange Deaths and Mutilations of These Cattle?" And the Madison County Sheriff's Office says that they are investigating the death and mutilation of cattle along Texas OSR. That's a highway. Ranchers advised a 6-year-old longhorn cross cow had been found lying on her side, deceased, and mutilated on their ranch. And then it gets weird. A straight, clean cut with apparent precision had been made to remove the hide around the cow's mouth on one side, leaving the meat under the removed hide untouched. The tongue was also completely removed from the body, with no blood spill. No, what is that? With no blood spill, and you're taking off half of the skin around the mouth and the tongue, and there's no blood. Okay? It was noted that there were no signs of struggle, and the grass around the cow was undisturbed. No footprints or tire tracks were noted in the area. Okay, so this is very strange. And I am not a guy, I remember when I was a kid, and this is going way back before you were born, and so you might not have ever heard of this. I don't know. Chariots of the Gods. It was this book by Eric Van Daniken. When I was in high school, all these people I knew in high school were reading it. It was about aliens, and the guy was arguing that a lot of the ancient artifacts of ancient civilizations showed that they had had contact with extraterrestrials. I never even read the book. I thought, well, that just seems nutty beyond belief. I don't care. There are lots of nutty things out there. I don't pay any attention. I've never been involved in UFO sightings, extraterrestrial speculations. I don't care what's going on in Roswell, New Mexico, or Area 51. I mean, I might care on some other level that there's things going on that the American people should know in Area 51. But I've never gone for this, but this is very strange. And it comes from the sheriff's office. It's not some guy selling a book saying crazy stuff. And so what on earth is going on? And it gets even weirder. Goes on to say, ranchers also reported that no predators or birds would scavenge the remains of the cow, leaving it to decay untouched for several weeks. Now,
that's odd.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Drive along the road and you see scavenger birds feasting on the carcasses of dead animals, but they would not touch this cow.
Okay. I was trying to take a shot at it, but that last thing kind of throws me. So no footprints, no nothing. Okay. High-powered dart, Valium straight to the neck, or something immediate like carfentanil, which they use for elephants. Okay. I saw the picture, removing the skin without touching the meat. I mean, you could, that would, I imagine. Now, I don't know about how possible it is in that area, but it just physically, you could probably use something to do that, to go in real precise and leave the tissue undamaged. The tongue,
butcher or surgeon or
sure.
something.
Yeah. Think about somebody making like a mink coat. They're not doing that in a sloppy manner. All right. Tongue, maybe a super hot laser instant cauterization. And this is just me if I had to think of an explanation.
That's fine. But why? What do you
want?
No.
Oh, the why makes zero sense. No. Right now, I'm just trying to walk it out in my mind. It's like, is it possible for humans to do this? Just period. Yes. Why? Oh, I have no fucking idea. But physically, it's not magic. I don't get the scavenger things, and then of course, why it do it?
I'm just saying it's here, and I have no idea what these people are up to. Uh,
You think it
and
is tied into food chain globalists?
Van Daniken and all that before. I don't mean to give the impression that I think this was space aliens.
No.
I'm just not into this stuff. And yet it's very hard to explain. It's impossible to explain. I have no idea what this could be all about because there's more. All right.
Oh God.
In the first place, that was one cow. So one cow, okay, who knows what's going on, but one cow. But then, while looking into the Longhorn Cross's death, 5 other similar occurrences involving 4 adult cows and 1 yearling were reported along the area of OSR running into Brazos County as well as Robertson County. Each incident occurred in different locations, pastures, and herds. The other cows were found in the same condition, lying on one side with the exposed side of their face cut along the jawline and the tongue, once again, completely removed. And then there was one other thing on 2 of the 5 cows, a circular cut was made, removing the anus and the external genitalia. The circular cut was made with the same precision as the cuts noted around the jaw lines of each cow. And just like the first, there were no signs of struggle or disturbance in the grass, no blood spill, and no noticeable tracks, and no predators or birds would scavenge the remains.
Yeah, I have no idea, man. I
Yeah.
don't. Okay.
And
No.
not they add multiple similar incidents have been reported across the United States, and we are actively coordinating with other agencies to find answers.
So the answer is either like a matter of national security because it's aliens, or this is some yet another prong and a multi-pronged approach to destroy the food chain, and the reason being for easy top-down control and removal of 7.5 billion of the 8 billion people. Is this just are they doing some field tests on some new? Maybe it's done at a distance. Maybe it's some directed energy weapon. Maybe it's some laser shit. Maybe it's nanobots. Maybe it's done by drone. No footsteps.
Yeah, drone, that's not a bad idea, really. I hadn't thought of that.
It,
Could
but
and I did mention in the article these other deaths that I've already actually mentioned on the show here, the 18,000 cattle that were killed in the fire and the other things, because I do wonder, is this maybe some sort of new procedure that was being tested for mass death of the cattle by some radical environmentalists or something? I don't know. Just saying. I'm trying to find a motive here. I can't find any motive other than of who wants to kill cows other than those guys.
yeah,
So I don't
it's
know.
it's either they want to disrupt the food supply because it is kind of the globalist UN, World Economic Forum, whatever you want to call it, that whole group of psychos. Um, or this is kind of more traditional nation state versus nation state warfare, and this is modern warfare where we don't bomb each other anymore. It's all about sabotage. Because whether it's the World Economic Forum taking down the United States or whether it's us versus China, it seems like this kind of is the modern phase of warfare, right? Misinformation, disinformation, food supply, infrastructure.
Yeah. Like all the attacks there have been on the power grid and on electrical what do you call them? Those boxes where the
Transformers.
yeah, exactly. A lot of them have been this kind of thing is not reported, but I come across it various times from time to time over the years in the course of my work tracking the jihadis. Once again, I'm not saying this is jihadis, but you find transformers shot up. Somebody used it for target practice. Somebody's trying to take it out. The whatever it's supported on being cut down, and there are attacks all over the place like this, and people send them to me, which is why I hear about them and say, is this Islamic jihadis? I don't know. But it doesn't have to be in the slightest degree, because here again, there are plenty of foreign actors as well as environmentalist crazies who don't want us to have a power grid.
Hmm.
And so they might well be the ones who are attacking these things.
The problem with this cattle mutilation thing is it's very, very high tech. It's not just like it's not just weird. It's very high tech. And that so this isn't some crazy, this isn't some crazy like Greenpeace environmentalist, I don't know, boot wearing dyke who's just like doing this. And I'm sure that offended most people. Fuck off, I don't care. But like this is high tech, right? This isn't your ragtag group of like we're just going and spray painting the train bridge. It's like this is some like high tech. This is DARPA, Delta Force, like, but then why? Right?
Yeah, and I
It's
don't know. Maybe it has nothing to do with trying to destroy the food supply, but maybe it does.
maybe they're just toying with a yeah, I've seen those videos of all the cattle dead, and it is those videos are creepy because they're uniform. It means that they all died at the same time. And even if it was heat, and it wasn't, but even if it wasn't a particularly hot day for that region. And I
Yes.
think historically, even in the last several years, they said there have been days far harder than that. Okay, but when they're all dead at the same time, or there was another one I think where it's like a bunch of pigs. Maybe it was cows, and they're like, it was a lightning strike, and people are like, "This isn't lightning. Doesn't do that." So there is some form of it's a technologically advanced method of killing, and it's occurring on cattle. I mean,
Yes.
maybe it's
Unless it's some bizarre ritual.
yeah, and you know what? I'm like not opposed to that idea. A year ago, I would have been like, "Shut up," and now I'm like, these people are so weird. They're not
Yeah.
just demons from hell; they're also a cult,
Yes.
and they give it value. They project value onto their cult.
Religion. Just before we started this, I was working on an article. It ain't finished yet. It ain't up yet, but it'll be up later on today. Uh, about this church in New York City that had a exhibit. God is trans, and they make gods in their own image in a very obvious and ham-handed way, and that's just to say that the left is very much religious. They reject traditional religion, but they have a religion. It's their own. It's the worship of themselves, the worship of the rejection, really, of traditional values and traditional religion. And so I don't know if these things could be part of some strange ritual involved with all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's this idea of like it's being edgy, and okay, I get that when you're like 18. I get that when you're trying to get you're wearing a leather jacket because you're not supposed to. But when like the richest and most powerful people in the world wear cloaks and worship a 30-foot owl in the woods, then these are people who like their time is valuable. You get 5 minutes to pitch them a business merger, and then you're out. The in between private flights and meeting with heads of states. It's all right, Mr. Kerrigan, pitch your IPO. Hey, Mr. Musk, I got this idea for a new, and it's make or break. You're dead right there, right? Shark Tank is a peek into their daily lives where their schedules are down to the minute. They don't just for shits and gigs
Yep.
go do some blow and hey, let's go worship an owl in the woods. Right there's that's man. And they also don't get together like this because that's a target of opportunity. There's security, someone's financing this. And
Mm-hmm.
even if it's an initiation, because maybe there could be some value to it, and you're initiating new people into your group. Okay, you're growing the network. I get that. But it seems to be they're placing something on that. There is some value. And these are not people. They're evil, but they're not stupid.
That's for sure.
So what the fuck is it? I mean,
Yeah.
is this evidence? Is there a demonic force?
I don't know. I think there's evidence that there's a demonic force every day in the news.
Well, yeah.
Uh, it's a funny thing because, the last show, who was the guy that I was on?
Dr. Patrick Moore.
Dr. Patrick Moore, and he got annoyed with me because I mentioned Christianity, and he doesn't buy it. And I understand that.
Sure.
I think that one of the things, and I don't mean to get into it again here, and
No, I don't care, man. Go for it.
he's not here now, but I'm not some evangelist anyway. It just seems like all the time, even if I'm not thinking about it, it just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
I mean that the religions of the world all make various statements that are not subject to empirical verification.
Hmm.
That makes people think, like Dr. Moore, that they're bunk
Hmm.
and reasonable position. But then there are other reasonable people who are believers. Now, the point I'm leading up to here is that the only, or one of the few, I should say, because there are probably some others I'm not thinking of right now, but the only one of the only religious ideas that I think is subject to empirical verification is the idea of the ancestral sin, or original sin, as they call it in Western Christianity. In Eastern Christianity, the ancestral sin, the idea that uh, there is something wrong with the world,
Mm.
that people, every last human being, has some defect.
Mm.
Never find a perfect human being on this earth, and that everybody is not exactly what they ought to be, and that the world is not exactly what it should be. It seems to me I see confirmation of this all the time. Every day I see evil deeds being done. And so it makes me wonder that a lot of people think that the world is perfectible and people are perfectible, and a lot of murders have been undertaken in service of that idea. And if you, on the other hand, accept that people are not perfectible and that there will always have flaws, every last individual, then the world starts to make a whole lot more sense. And so, is there a demonic force? I think, well, nothing's more obvious than that.
Yeah. Well,
The what it's doing, how powerful it is, what other forces there are. These things are actually murkier. But the is there evil in the world? Oh yeah, plenty.
yeah. Yeah, no, and I'm with you in that with that entirely. And I think Dr. Moore was pretty open about his atheism, which is fine. He's a cool guy. Um, but even then, like the very thing we were talking about there, like the repulsion to combustion itself, it really is. I mean, it's starting to get to a point where it seems like we can quantify evil, and it seems to be something that is like the opposite of like thermodynamics and evolution of this like natural state of things. It seems to be a conscious force pushing in a direction that makes no sense. It just
Yeah.
for no other purpose than to be an inversion.
Disillusion, rejection,
Yeah.
mad, despair, hatred. Yeah, all these things.
Yeah.
And yeah, you actually pinpointed it there. I was eliding the two, and so you asked if there was a demonic force, or said that there. It looks like there could be, and I say, well, sure, because there's evil, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's some conscious demonic force that's actively doing evil. On the other hand, I think, well, there's a level of sophistication to it that makes me think that's pretty likely.
No, I've like fully warmed up to and it's also like I always try to find precedents of things that have already existed and are currently existing, and it helps flesh out ideas. And I mean, I always point to I mean, even now, but I even point to the Cold War of like two superior powers, the United States and the Soviet Union, manipulating second world powers to go
Mhm.
fuck around in third world countries. It is a top down control mechanism of puppets inside of puppets using technology that to each tier below seems godlike.
Mhm.
You just have to walk that out one more step and go, what? And it might not even be a demon in the idea of like it's something beyond like this reality. It could just be an evil advanced civilization for has its own perverted means, or it could be something as existential like God and the devil. But I don't think that's a weird idea at all.
Hang on, I'm looking for something that I want to read you.
All right.
I gotta find it here. Uh,
But
what is
like
it? It's
what?
let me find it first, and then
Okay.
I'll.
But I mean,
um,
even like what was it last year that the UN put that weird like statue? outside of its building in New York, and it was some like Old Testament Armageddon figure. It was like a weird like lynx slash bear with like a scorpion tail or something. It was something out of I think the Torah, and it was
Wow,
just like
not
it was just
familiar.
out there. And people are like, "Oh, look at this art piece," and other people are like, "That's an art piece outside of the UN in New York City, just symbolic of the apocalypse." And everyone's
Yeah,
like, "Yeah, they're pretty artsy," and it's like, "Hey, man, they're putting it right in our face." Like, it's
yeah.
here's the harbinger of hell, and we're all like, they are some really those are some artsy figures.
Okay. Now, I don't want mean to be reductionist here,
I
but
don't care.
what if you had a fantastically rich individual who started manipulating events and he had virtually unlimited resources with which to do so?
Okay.
Then he could set himself up as a kind of god. And he would be, in a certain sense, a kind of god because he would be essentially unstoppable and unaccountable. Anyway, I'm just talking about our friend George Soros. And I know this gets picked on a lot, but I keep coming back to this interview he had in The Independent, the UK paper, in 1993. And it just, I think about this a lot. It's incredible to me. He says this, you ready? It is a sort of disease when you consider yourself some kind of God, the creator of everything. But I feel comfortable about it now since I began to live it out.
I had never heard that before. That's a that's a nugget that I
And
gotta
here, not this is not some crazy paper. This is the Independent, which is actually a leftist paper. Not to say that the left isn't crazy, but what I
sure.
mean is the Independent is so-called mainstream journalism. They're not trying to make George Soros look bad. Quite the contrary, as a matter of fact.
And
And
then
so, what if you had a guy? I mean, I tried to find out how he makes his money. I couldn't. And it seems to me that, you get up into the higher reaches of high finance and it becomes very cloudy. And it seems like these guys are just unfathomably rich and it just keeps coming. And they never have to worry about any kind of downturn. They have somehow tapped into the global economic lifeline in a way that they are always going to be at the top.
yeah.
And I don't know, but in any case, and then you find that this guy is financing all these globalist, socialist, internationalist causes all around the world. And he never seems to run out of money. And well, I don't know. And he thinks he's God. And he says, I used to bother me that I thought I was God until I started living it out.
Yeah, man, that's an admission. That's the evil, that's the villain at the end of the movie. And you're hogtied and he's got the gun to the girl's head and he's telling you his plan. That's
Yep.
the
They always say, now I'm going to leave for a half hour. And when I come back, you will be dead. And
yeah.
then time to extricate yourself from the scheme before the pendulum slices you in half or whatever.
That's why I love Watchmen. Do you ever read Watchmen or see Watchmen? It's a
Not,
anyway,
not,
it's the whole thing.
I don't know anything about any of that.
Okay, well, there's a really there's like a he's like the smartest guy in the world, and he's like a billionaire, and he has his own like lair on the North Pole or something, and he basically engineers a nuclear war or a couple nuclear strikes to stop nuclear war to scare the shit out of everybody. And he's in his former teammates of whatever like Justice League thing he's in. It's pretty gay, and they're all there. They're like, "We're gonna stop you now," and he's got him like tied up or something. He's going, "Oh, you're not gonna stop me." And then finally he one of the good guys goes, well, "When are you gonna do this?" And he looks at him and he goes, "I'm not a comic book villain. I did it 15 minutes ago." And he turns on the news and New York's incinerated. And you're like, "Oh shit!" Like, "Oh fuck," he did the thing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, once you get up into that very high realm of finance, it does sort of turn into this weird magic where you're like,
Mm-hmm.
what is going on? And there's a quadrillion dollars of derivatives. And you're like, what the fuck? And it's it's well, we're pitting this currency against that one, and due to the temporal relationship of this stock going down, I now get 1 billion. And it does kind of seem like dark magic, but at the risk of explaining things that are too complex for me to understand as magic and making myself look like an idiot instead of admitting that I just don't understand it or that I haven't read about it. But you almost wonder if it's that. Is it like a sickening power trip of
Yeah, I wonder.
you have all the money in the world, why not eventually start shaping the world?
Yeah, yeah, and that's what he's clearly doing. Even if he doesn't have all the money in the world, even if there is some limitation on his power, he's clearly reshaping the world in his own image and doing very well at it, really.
What gets me though is even these guys with world class healthcare and everything, and this not might not be true in 100 years. In 100 years, they might actually have almost like immortal youth through stem cells and nanobots. But someone like George Soros, he knows he's coming up on the end. Like, why why is he still going so hard? What, you know?
Well, obviously he believes in what he's doing, right?
Yeah. But for people so selfish, it always seems odd to me that they're doing this thing and setting it up so that something may occur long after they're dead.
And his
They're,
son is 7. Alexander has free entree to the White House, has been to see Biden numerous times.
yeah, it's do you think that's what it is they want to become so advanced that they get to play God? And
Well, yeah, I do actually.
yeah, I
And
mean,
that they're authoritarians because that's their vision of being God, that they are in total control. And so they want to destroy the nation state, destroy boundaries like our southern border, and destroy nationality. And that's why there's the mass migration, and exercise control in the sense that they are the only force to which anybody owes any loyalty. So they are God.
and I think they want to. Right now, it's always pretty much assumed that the government or the military has like 20 or 30-year advancements on technology. I think they want that even farther so as to become gods. I don't think they're happy with 30-year difference. I think they want a 300-year difference.
Well,
So
that's probably.
it's yeah, have a global dictatorship and rule from the center, and they have Wi-Fi when you and I are wearing powdered wigs with muskets.
Well, have you seen Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum, who's another one of these guys, who said, I saw a clip of him speaking some few years ago and saying, imagine if you were a speaker speaking before an audience and you could look out and see how everybody was reacting to your talk because you all have the same implant. And so you can read their thoughts and they can read yours.
Yeah, I'm not. And then Yuval Noah Harari, his weird little lapdog,
Yeah.
his book Sapiens. I read that, and the ending of it gets real weird real quick. The entire book is just kind of a recap of Earth, of humanity. It's a lot like Bill Bryson's book, A Brief History of Nearly Everything, where it's just
Okay.
truly like there was a bang, and then there was four forces, and all the way up through the steam engine and satellites till now. And it's all right, it's a cool read. But then he ends with like, what does the future hold? And it doesn't go on a linear, we're gonna go out to the stars. And it gets very like there will be no individual consciousness as we all merge together, and then we will wonder what is even the difference between you and I, and is there right and wrong, and we will cross over into an event horizon of like collectiveness. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of shoehorned in the last chapter, and you're like, what was it?
Yeah. Collectiveness. Well, we've seen collectivity before. We've seen collectivist societies.
Yeah,
That's
kill
communism.
everyone. Kill everyone.
Kill everyone that gets out of line. Absolutely. And everybody else is either programmed and brainwashed or too terrified to do anything but conform.
It almost seems to be the antithesis of God is what they really want.
Yeah. And see, this is here again.
It
When you
comes back to it.
see, I've been a Christian for many, many years now. I'm 61 years old. And so I have had lots of bad experiences with the church.
Sure.
I don't get into my life story and all this and bore everybody with whining. But my point is, if I had been able to, I would have happily walked away years ago.
Yeah.
Except that it keeps on making sense of the world in ways that other things do not.
Yeah.
And so stick with it. And one of the ways that it makes sense of the world is that it seems to me that when you read the apocalyptic literature like Revelation and other passages, that it does envision, well, even in Isaiah, right? Isn't it in Isaiah where you have Lucifer saying, I will become like God, and Adam and Eve being told, you will be like God if you eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And so it's represented as this human impulse, not that Lucifer was a human being, but he's the one putting this in people's heads, supposedly. But human beings are given this temptation. You can be like God. And it's a temptation because if you think that it's going to make you magnificent, and it makes everything go wrong instead. And if you accept that you are not God and accept the real God, then you can live an actual happy and fulfilled life. It seems to me this is exactly the challenge that the present age is coming down to. That there are a lot of people saying we can be like God, knowing good and evil. And it's just the same lie as it was in Genesis.
Yeah. And it's got a new spin on it. And instead of bronze swords and shit, there's iPhones and drones. But it's the same shitty sequel like Hollywood. It's just the same. They're remaking it with 8K. And I think they're
Yes.
remaking the Lord of the Rings. And it's like, why? They're fine. I just watched it. I just watched one of them last month. They're still great. But now it's 12K and IMAX and Frodo's trans. And you're like, ah, fuck it. It's not
Yeah,
new.
trans is the thing there.
Yeah. What? And then
Fredo's godfather. Sorry.
yeah, yeah. Well, then what is the obsession with trans? And I'm all for, as much as I think it's weird and it repulses me, I genuinely am for adults should be able to do whatever they want. I really do believe that. And but what is the obsession with trans from the power elite?
It's the same thing, my friend.
Perversion.
Adults can do everything they want, sure,
Go
but
for
I
it.
have to buy it. You have to buy it. That's the where it
That's
gets
the
to,
horse shit. Yeah.
where I have to pretend, that Caitlyn Jenner. I don't mind calling him Caitlyn. If he wants to call himself Caitlyn,
Go
if
for
he
it.
calls himself Mary Lou or Muhammad or Freddie, I don't care.
Yeah.
You can call me whatever you want. I don't care. But when he wants me to call him her and she, no, it's not real. And I'm not going to acquiesce to his delusions. Now, that's what the powers, the leftist powers that control everything, or almost everything, they want us to acquiesce. We have to submit. And it reminds me of 1984, George Orwell, which predicted so much of this, it's funny because this is a passage, I may have mentioned this in earlier shows because I keep coming back to it. So pardon me if I repeat myself, but this is a passage, when I first read 1984, it was 1979. And it and I thought this is a wild story, but I never thought any of it I was going to be living through it. And one of the most outlandish aspects of the book, as far as I was concerned, was where O'Brien, the torturer, the party man, is talking to Winston, the dissident, when Winston's in prison. And he says, if the party says 2 + 2 is 5, how much is 2 + 2? And Winston says 4. And O'Brien turns his dial to torture. He's got this torture machine, and Winston's in this terrible pain from the machine. And he turns it back down and says, okay, what's 2 + 2? 4, turns it back up again. And finally, he breaks him and makes him say, look, if the party says it, it is. That's it. You have to deny reality if the party tells you to deny reality. And so this is where we are now. Men are becoming women, and we have to deny reality and accept it.
Yeah.
And so it's all about control, totalitarian control, but also it goes back to the spiritual. And here again, this is why I'm still a reluctant Christian and I'm sounding like a this afternoon, because what's the first thing that we're told about human beings in Genesis? God's creating everything, and everybody argues about this passage about creationism or evolution. And I've never been interested in that either, because I think that's not what the point of it is. The point of it is not to give a scientific manual. The point of it is to impart wisdom. And one of the things that it says is, very first off, is what? Male and female, he created them. So the first thing that God does when he creates human beings is create the male and female. And so that is the core of our identity. And you think about it, it is really the core of our identity, because I'm always going to be a male, and you are too. You might marry somebody who is Black or Asian or whatever, and your children will be of a different race, and their children will be of a different race. You can change race. I mean, I can't, and you can't, but I mean, generations you can. And you can change your hair color or change everything else about you, but you can't change who you are as a male or female. And so that now is what's under attack. And the claim is, well, yes, you can. And if we just mutilate you and hollow you out and give you a gaping wound, then you'll be a woman. Well, that's not what a woman is.
No.
And it strikes at the heart of the core identity as created. And so the people who are the rebels against God, who want to set themselves up as God, they want to strike that out.
Yeah.
Because that's what we were made as.
On a spiritual level, it's going to prison and killing the biggest guy on the first day. Right?
Yeah.
If you're coming in as God, you're going first things first. That's not a man and that ain't a woman.
Yeah.
You're under new management. And then on less of a spiritual level and more of a precedent level, this is the first step of denying reality. That's a man, that's a woman, vice versa. Finally, you look at the 400-pound dude in a thong with a dick, and you go, that's a beautiful woman. Okay, right?
Yes.
It doesn't stop there. And then it's going to turn into, well, love is love and age is a construct. And finally, it will go all the way down to, 9/11 never happened. We've always been at war with Russia. Ukraine's always been 1984.
Exactly. Yeah.
It will go to that. Inflation's what we say it is.
You have to not trust yourself and your own perceptions more than you trust what they tell you. You have to trust what they tell you above all things. And that makes
the party's final and most important order, right? Deny your eyes and ears.
That's
and
it.
Because once you do that, you can just reshape everything.
Yep.
You just say what it is. You no longer have to actually do anything. You just go
shape everything. See, the reminders keep popping out all over the place. Like I've seen pictures of Rachel Levine, Admiral Rachel.
Oh God.
I almost called her she. Sorry, Rachel Levine. He was standing next to Sam Brinton. Do you remember Sam?
That
Sam was the
eunuch.
Yeah, he was the
nuclear waste baggage guy.
Gender fluid luggage thief who was the nuclear waste disposal chief. And he's standing there in a skirt. And there was a third one too, I think, but I forget who. But then they were standing with a few real women. And so somebody pointed out that in the picture, and there were some men in the picture too, who didn't deny that they were men. That all the men were standing in a certain way and all the women were standing in a certain way, because it has to do with the structure of the leg and the thigh and
hips, yeah.
And so Levine and Brinton were standing like men, but pretending to be women. And I was actually walking behind one time a woman who was claiming to be a man. And I know her slightly, and we were walking in the same direction. And I happened to notice that her arms were female. that you know that a female's arm is slightly different shape from a male's arm, that it's crooked out at the elbow because it makes it easier to hold a baby on a hip, that they don't have either, that I mean that men don't have either. And so I was thinking, you got all kinds of surgery. You think you're a man, but you still got girl arms.
Yeah. If you're
And even if you pump iron all the time and bulk up, there's still going to be female arms.
and it is the obsession with it is what gets me. Is it's one thing if they're like, you should be able to do this and you're trying to win votes. I get that. Politics is dirty. But it's the
Yeah,
obsession. It is the obsession of like we will fly these flags and like you will submit, bigot.
you will
And
submit,
yeah,
man.
that's what it is it's submission. You will submit. That we both know this is horseshit.
Yeah,
We both know 2 + 2 is equal to 4. But I've got the dial. Submit. So fucking it, right? And it is. It's that, and then it's the whole spiritual aspect of just the perversion of reality inside out. And then also, back to our talk with Dr. Moore, is it's also just the antithesis of all things human, of quite literal growth and development and go forth and be multiply and be fruitful and
yeah.
go yeah.
That's another thing. That's another thing that is told to human beings first off. It's one of the first instructions, right? And maybe the first. And that's also a thing they hate.
Yeah.
And we've been told, I remember being told at incredibly early ages in public school, elementary school, the population explosion. There's too many people in the world. We have to cut back and not have so many children. And otherwise, the world will be overcrowded and people will starve. And by 1980, 5 million people will be dead or whatever. And of course, it didn't happen because it wasn't true. But most people, I think, out here, they still believe it. Uh, I remember talking to a guy who has a large family, and he said that uh, they have 7 kids, and after I think like number 3 was born, every time they had another child, people would say to them, "You know how this is done, right? You know how this works. When are you going to stop? Can't you leave your poor wife alone?" Stuff like that. And it's the people, I mean, in the Western world, people have internalized the idea that you shouldn't have very many children because the population is growing, expanding. Actually, the Western countries, the population is not exploding and is going to be imploding pretty soon.
And the world has always that's always been a selection pressure. With more mouths to feed, we've always found a way to do it. We've always Apollo 13 to this shit, right? It drives us to be better, to push things forward, to push crops forward, and GMOs and better fertilizers, and if for all the drawbacks those have, but preservatives and hormones, and it has made us get even better at producing food and get even better at public health and highways and ventilation systems. We've gotten better. It's forced us to become better. And then you could argue, yeah, and next thing you know, if we need to go to another planet, hey, well, we've already kind of mastered crops and how to do this stuff, things that we never would have been able to do. And then not only that, each mind is a node. It is a very intelligent node. And any one of them can be a Newton or a Tesla. And when you have more and more of these biological computers walking around, you are increasing the rate of eureka moments, and you're increasing the rate of development and radically altering our world and being able to provide more food, for have more babies, to have more and more brains. And it's a self-feedback system of procreate, go forth and be plentiful, multiply, on and on and on. Well, what are we going to do after the earth? I don't know. Look up in quite literally any direction for infinity, and we can go there next. And it's the idea that we have to stop, to me, is it's cowardice,
Mhm.
and it's also it's there's no confidence in it. Like, what happened to humanity just being like, oh, we've maxed out the island of Manhattan. Fuck it, just start building up. Building up? Yeah, I don't know, just build up. What? And now you have Manhattan. Like, why can't that be the thing? Where's that confidence to go look at the illustrations from the 50s and 60s, like Popular Mechanics. God, they just look to the stars. They're like, by next year, we're gonna have hydrogen powered ships 1,000 times the size of Titanic going to Mars, and everyone's like, fuck yeah, and the president was like, fuck yeah. And
Yeah.
now we're like, so we're gonna get rid of the nuclear power plants. Instead, we're gonna have big dandelions called windmills that are gonna produce half a light bulb a year. And everyone's like, this is so stunning and brave. What happened to humanity just holding a middle finger up to the seasons and being like, fuck it, we'll build underground. What the fuck do I care? Nuclear war, we'll make NORAD. Like, we'll just go live under a mountain.
I remember when I was a kid in late 60s, early 70s, we all thought, and I mean not just me and my friends, all the little kids thought by 2000, when we're in our late 30s, we're going to be driving around in star cruisers,
Yeah.
getting in cars that fly through the air, little personal airplanes or something like that. And it didn't seem crazy. People took for granted that there was going to be a rapid expansion of technology, just as there had been in the previous decades, and then it all stopped.
And then I often think that it hasn't stopped. A lot of it went metaphorically underground and advanced programs. They haven't slowed down at all.
Well, I hope not.
Yeah, but they're looking at us peons and they're like, these pigs, they don't get the good stuff. And
Well, now if it's in the hands of people like that, then maybe it's good it slows down.
yeah,
They want
maybe,
to slow down for us, not for them. Yes.
yeah, but it is just the most timid, like, again, the word that keeps coming to mind is cowardice of like looking forward and being like, yeah, we're gonna go to the moon. Like making that statement 60 years after the Wright Flyer is an absurd statement, but we did it, and now it's now our goals. It is our stated goals to be like, if we're lucky, in 30 years, there will be no cars. Everyone's clapping like retarded seals, like, this is great. And it's like, what happened to like, we're all going to be flying around in Jetsons shit.
Yes, exactly.
And it,
Well, these people, they want to destroy human civilization because they hate human beings. They hate civilization. They want destruction. Now, what kind of force wants destruction?
yeah,
And back to it.
back to the source code of the demon. And when they kill 7.5 billion people, if they get away with it, they will then keep breaking that down. 500 million will be too much.
Mhm.
And they will finally have achieved their goal when the very last person alive blows their head off because it is clean and sustainable. And
And we,
only then will we realize it was demonic.
well, I hope before then, I don't expect to live to see it, but I hope to see a general repudiation that people will finally. I thought there was going to be a repudiation of Marxism after the Soviet Union fell, but this is bigger than even Marxism. Marxism is just part of it, but there needs to be an overall repudiation of the whole train of thought of the last 100 years, practically, in terms of progressivism, the idea that humans are moving towards some predetermined goal, that this involves the destruction of massive numbers of people in order to fit these predetermined ideas. All that has to be explicitly exposed and repudiated. And of course, we ain't even close to that.
Yeah. I don't I think we will. I think enough people I think right now they've hidden it so well for so long, which you have to do because ultimately it's about a demonic pedophile kind of, psychopathic demonic force. You have to hide it in the shadows. As it steps out more and more, I think the repulsion to it is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And I think if we looked closely, and I don't know if this is true, but as a hypothesis, we could probably find other times in human history where this has started to arise or the demonic force has started to arise and we've made it through before. I don't think we've ever quite seen a global attempt at it before, like we're seeing now.
Well,
But
I
I
think the rise of totalitarianism and Soviet Union, Nazi Germany, China. Kampuchea, all these things. That was very much the rise of the same kind of evil force we're talking about. But yes, this time it's for the whole marble.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going for it. They're going for the big one. And I don't think they'll get it. I think it's too alien. I think it's too evil. And I think they're gonna start having to show themselves more and more and more. And even the most progressive people are gonna start to reach a point where they're like, the year's gonna be 2040, and it's not gonna be like trans people are people. It's gonna be like men with horns putting babies in wood chippers are also people. People are gonna be like, dude, I don't fucking know if I can do that one, man. I don't
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
alter my rainbow flag again to a silhouette of a guy putting a baby in a wood chipper. Like, this is where I draw the line.
There are already leftists who've woken up. Glenn Greenwald and what's that guy?
Russell Brand.
That's him. That's just the one I was thinking of. Yeah, man. Yeah. Anyway, I got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they've come around, then that's all to the good.
Yeah. I think maybe to wrap it up in a bow, I think the cattle mutilation is maybe a microcosm of it. It's something that you look at and you go, I can't quite explain it, but something deep inside of me says this is wrong.
That's
I
for
don't
sure.
know who's doing it or why they're doing it. Are they testing a weapon system? Something deep in your reptilian basal brain is going, this is some like Old Testament demon shit.
Yeah, I think so.
I think more and more we're going to start to have that reaction to society at large. It's going to look like a cow with its gums exposed. People are going to be going, "What the fuck is that?" Yeah, I don't know, man. Someone's going to be like, "Well, how do you explain it?" You're going, "I can't explain it, but my gut says this is fucked." Like, and I only realized at the end of episodes just how bad my language is and how I've yet to evolve to remove the F bombs.
I don't think anybody cares about that anymore, my friend.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the hot topic is putting on a thong and dancing in front of 4-year-olds. So maybe,
That I would object to
yeah,
personally.
maybe my barriers are prude by today's standards. I say the F bomb, and it's like, you're a bigot, you still have a dick. And I'm like, oh, okay, no, we're good. We're good. We're good. I'll get out the machete and I'll win over the progressives sooner or later.
I'd love that.
Yeah. Well, yet another unholy episode with Mr. Spencer, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I look forward to chatting with you again sometime, man. I love
Yeah,
talking to you. It's fun shooting this shit, and it does always come back to it. God is real and the devil's real, and we're watching it. That's too long. Didn't read. That's the episode.
that's it, man.
All right,
Thanks.
dude. Well, hey, man. We'll be in touch. We'll do another episode. Till next time, man. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Please go into the description. Go buy his shit. Go follow him on Twitter. Go to his website. Do all that good stuff. Don't make me look like an idiot. All right. Thanks.